What do you consume? Let's see if I can get this camera held here. Hi guys, welcome to another podcast. It's been a minute since I've been on here. So this is I would say I have no script, but this is a redo, not a redo, but an update to an existing post because I'm going through my backlog of content and blogs and converting them from text to video to audio to get on their podcast platforms. So if you like what you see, subscribe on all those podcast catchers, Apple, Google, Spotify, all that's set up. So that being said, let's get into the content, and that is, what do you consume? Back in my day, I was a failed real estate agent working as a bartender at a casual dining restaurant. Very, very unhappy with my life, and I decided to make a transition into the IT industry because I did not have a high school diploma. I did not go to school, nor did I have a college education. So IT was kind of merit-based from what I learned talking to some of my clients at the restaurant. So what's nice is I learned about the way I could transition, and I decided to get into real estate right at the top of the housing bubble. So that didn't work out very well for me anyway. And long story short, I was still bartending because I grew up very poor and I always have had to work. And this was probably my early 20s. Yeah, this was my early 20s, 2005, 2008-ish. So I was transitioning into the IT industry. Didn't know what in particular that I wanted to transition into, but I went to a local education place. I wouldn't call it a college. It was just kind of like an education school to get certifications. They had trainers and stuff. And I went to that school, and they kind of showed me a path of certificates, like certifications that I could get that would help me get my foot in the door at an IT job. And I remember there was one in particular, which was like an IT security certification. And I got all the precursor certifications just through studying and memorizing and doing some lab experiments. But this security cert I had no experience in security, IT security. And I was studying passively. I wouldn't say actively, a couple days a week, a couple hours a week, not really that serious. So all the other certs and tests I took and got, some passed, some failed. But the security one really was tough for me because I just didn't know about that world. So here's what is important in the realm of consumption. I took this certification, I think 2 times, and just bombed, just failed the test. Didn't even get like halfway there. So I said I need a new approach to my studying. So I went and found some podcasts. This was a relatively new thing back then, podcasts, and then DVD training on the topic. In the DVD training, I ripped the files from the DVD and put them on my newly purchased smartphone. I don't even think it was like a smartphone in the traditional sense, but it was a phone that could play movies. So what I would do is I'd listen to the podcast daily. There was like I said, I found an IT security podcast. I listened to that daily. While I was on the treadmill, I would play the training videos that I had ripped from my DVD. So I was consuming this stuff, and then I would also study. Like I had the book, right? And I would do all the test preps. So for probably about 3 months, I just lived in this world. My passive entertainment was IT security. The book that I bought was IT security. When I took the test, maybe three months later, so 90 days of that intense boot camp, whatever you want to call it, I passed the test, but missed like one question. So I mastered the test because I got above 90%. So that made me realize what I had been doing wrong in my study schedule. I had not been exposing myself to the right content. And I started looking at the television shows that I would watch just for fun. Just, like when you're just passing time. I was 20-something. I would just put on garbage. And I did recognize garbage in, garbage out. Like some of the shows I would watch, I'm not going to name the names of them because they're all kind of the same, right? One of them was like a blue collar show that showed like a struggling family, and the dad would always work harder, the kids would always suffer, the mom always had to manage the household while the dad was working numerous jobs. And even though the dad was working 3 and 4 jobs on this television show, they never got any traction financially. So the show portrayed reality as just a giant struggle, and they never showed any bad habits of the parents fiscally or behaviorally. So it just showed like the world is against the people, the world is against the hard workers. And I don't know where you live, but where I live here in the boring in a good way Midwest, you bust your butt, especially working 3 jobs, and you are financially disciplined, meaning living within your means. Oh yeah, you'll get traction very quick here. So again, I don't know much of reality outside this bubble, but that's not the reality that I live. I also saw in some of the television shows, the siblings at young ages always hate each other, the dad's always dumb, and it's just like, that's not the reality I live in. So I thought those television shows were art, but if art, and this is a quote from Jordan Peterson, if art is not showing you something that you didn't know, then it's just propaganda. And maybe there is a Venn diagram between, quote, art and propaganda in some of the content we consume. And maybe that's putting you backwards in your life. Maybe that's making you look at things in a propagandized way that you hadn't really thought about consciously. So that's the challenge we have going forward, is exposing ourselves to positive things. And here, the whole reason why I blog, vlog, podcast, whatever you call it these days, is to show improvement in my life. You can't control politics, you can't control the environment in which you were born, but you can control how you react. And that is the purpose of this post. You can react by getting yourself to the next level. And one tool in that toolbox of things that I share is exposing yourself to content that helps you reach that next level. That's all I have for today. I will talk to you all later.